Hola a todos, espero que ustedes estén bien. ¿Cuál es la diferencia entre bueno y bien? Veamos. Today we are going to learn the difference between these two words, bueno and bien. Now, these are two words that are often confused, but after watching this video, that confusion should disappear, okay? So let's first look at their translations because this is where we see the first difference. Bueno and bien translate as good and well respectively in English. Bueno means good, bien means well, right? And that also leads to the second difference, which is going to be the part of speech. Okay, good is an adjective, whereas well is an adverb. Well, although well can be an adjective, but in this context, well is an adverb. So bueno is an adjective, therefore it modifies nouns. Okay, so we'll start with bueno. Bueno is an adjective, and as you know, adjectives modify nouns. Okay, so let's look at some examples. Ella es una buena maestra. She is a good teacher. Right. You know in Spanish that adjectives have to agree with the nouns that they modify in terms of gender and number. Therefore, bueno becomes buena because maestra is feminine and singular. Ella es una buena maestra. I could also change the order and I could place the adjective after the noun. Ella es una maestra buena. And the meaning remains unchanged, right? What is the difference? When you place the adjective before the noun, it is done more for emphasis, okay? Because generally adjectives follow the nouns that they modify in Spanish, right? So, ella es una buena maestra. Ella es una maestra buena. Messi es un buen hombre. Messi is a good man. Now we see a change. Bueno becomes buen because we make this change when we have a noun that is singular and masculine. Bueno becomes buen if it is placed before the noun. Okay, so if we place bueno before a singular masculine noun, it changes to buen. We remove the O. Therefore, Messi es un buen hombre. If we place bueno after the noun, we have Messi es un hombre bueno. So just remember that when we're talking about a noun that is singular and masculine, and we want to place bueno before it, it changes to buen, right? Over here, tienes buenos alumnos. You have good students. Well, alumnos in this context would be masculine, so we use buenos. Similarly, we can switch the order. Tienes alumnos buenos. That's right. And we're going to end off with this example. Creo que tenemos buenas costumbres. I believe that we have good traditions. Costumbres could also translate as habits, but we chose traditions, right? I could also say, creo que tenemos costumbres buenas. So as you see, all the variants of bueno are represented here. We have buena, buen, or bueno. buenos and buenas, because bueno is an adjective, so it must agree with the noun that it modifies. It can occur before the noun or after the noun. If it occurs before a singular masculine noun, the O is removed and it changes to buen. Okay? So this is bueno. This is how bueno functions. Por otro lado, right? We have bien. Now, bien is an adverb, and as you saw earlier, it translates as well. So if it's an adverb, that means that it modifies verbs, other adverbs, or adjectives, right? So of course, that is completely different from an adjective. Let's look at some examples. Yo hablo español bien. I speak Spanish well. In this context, bien is an adverb of manner as it modifies the verb hablar because it tells us how the action is performed. It is performed well, bien, right? Now, we can't say yo hablo español bueno. No, 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 no. I could say yo hablo buen español. I speak good Spanish because in this context, I would need an adjective describing Spanish. Yo hablo buen español. And of course, español would be singular and masculine, so bueno becomes buen. That's right. La casa es bien grande. The house is very big. In this context, bien is an adverb of degree because it adds a degree of intensity to the adjective grande. So basically, bien would be a synonym of muy, right? I could say la casa es muy grande. That would be the same translation. La casa es bien grande, la casa es muy grande. Muy bien. And estoy bien. ¿Cómo estás? Estoy bien. I am well. We would not say, even though in English, when someone asks us how we are doing, we sometimes respond, I am good. In Spanish, we have to say estoy bien. If you're talking about the way we feel, we have to use estar. Or we could also use the verb sentirse, which means to feel, and it is used with adverbs. Me siento bien, por ejemplo, right? Me siento bien and estoy bien can be seen as the same, right? But if someone asks us how we are doing, we can't say estoy bueno. Because if we say estoy bueno, that means that we are talking about how we look. So if I say esta mujer está buena, I'm saying that she has a nice body. She looks attractive, right? So we have to be careful. We use bien when we're talking about how we feel, right? Can't use bueno. Bueno is an adjective, which means that it describes a noun, whether it describes the appearance or what have you. But an adverb is required because we're talking about how we feel, right? Muy bien. So few more details before we conclude. Bueno can be used as a filler word. When we want to gather our thoughts, we can say bueno, and that means like well. And the differences between bueno and bien are basically similar to the differences between malo and mal. Malo is an adjective, which means it has to agree with the noun that it modifies. And malo changes to mal if it is used before a singular masculine noun. And mal is an adverb, right? And of course, you know it's an adjective if you place it before a singular masculine noun. So these are similar. But let me just give you an example of some examples, right? Él me dio un mal ejemplo. He gave me a bad example. You see, malo becomes mal because ejemplo is singular and masculine. I could also say, if you want to use variants of malo, we could say that, es la, no, let me not say that. Yes, okay, yes. We could say that los ingleses, and please don't take offense by this is just an example. Los ingleses tienen malas costumbres. The English have bad habits, right? Okay. Estos equipos son malos, right? Those teams are bad, right? So I just want to give you examples in which I utilized the variants of malo as an adjective. But as an adverb, I could simply say el equipo jugó mal. The team played badly, right? Yeah. Very good. So yes, bueno and bien. This essentially concludes our lesson today. I hope that you were able to understand everything. Espero que les quede claro. Muchas gracias por ver y hasta la vista.